Hi, I'm Andy Chamberlain from UVM Extension Ag Engineering. Today I want to share with you a couple of maintenance tips that you can do to prolong the life of your modified green spinners. So what's neat about this retrofit is that they cut the top off, or open, and so it keeps all this nice and smooth where you're touching it. However, we had to bend these tabs down on the back side because the inserts that we use, these baskets, were swinging around when the load got out of balance and slapping the edge of this and actually cutting the handle. So we had to bend those tabs down out of the way. And then a split tube was added around here and secured with some zip ties, which works pretty good so you don't cut yourself on the edge, but it does pose a harborage point for bacteria and rust and other buildup to get caught up in there. To avoid that, you can remove the couple of screws on the back side and remove the whole top piece. That does leave some more exposed metal, but it does leave an upper edge, or it does leave more access around the outside for cleaning escaped lettuce leaves and water that gets down around the edges, and also promotes better drying in between uses. Now, this handy dandy cover is a great idea as far as safety goes, but when you use the baskets, the handles stick up too tall. So you can't use the lid down as a safety feature. It's really more of a dust cover when not in use. You could add some standoff blocks here so it gets up above the basket, but I haven't seen too many farms doing that. They usually just end up running with the lid open. Now if you want to remove the top, there's just these couple screws on the back here, and those will allow it to slide forward a little bit and hinge up, and then you can lift it off, and that'll completely remove the top of the washing machine. Now if you're going that far, we also often recommend removing this back panel because that allows a lot more airflow to get in and around the drum to dry out when not in use, and bacteria have a harder time growing when it's dry, so that's why we often recommend that approach. The next tip I'm going to show you is on the underside. So we've got to move this thing around and get it into a position where we can look at it from the bottom. I find if I go around to the front of the unit, I can grab the top edge and then kind of lean it against my legs to walk it around. I'll show you that. Kind of get my feet underneath it a little bit, lean it back kind of like a dolly, and then I can kind of waddle it over to where I need to. Now I moved it a little closer, I'm just going to lean it down so you can see the bottom. So now that we're underneath the screen spinner, I wanted to point out a couple of things. On a somewhat regular basis, maybe annually, you probably should try to clean in here. However, you want to avoid getting the motor and belt assembly wet, so extreme caution should be taken. But it'd be really great to remove grime like this from building up. Another thing is if you're experiencing a lot of loud noise when the machine is running, and it's not the slapping of the drum, check these bolts on the bottom. I found these bolts could come loose, and then this whole motor assembly would wobble and have slop against this plastic catch basin. So check the tension on these bolts periodically and make sure that that is nice and snug. So check the bolt tension, make sure nothing's loose down here. Try to remove some of this yucky grime periodically, and try to keep the motor dry. So those are the tips for underneath the green spinner. So I hope some of those tips were useful to you, and have a great day.